Good evening and welcome everyone. All right, before we continue our session, so again, important announcement uh, about Unacademy subscriptions. So there are two subscriptions, two different subscriptions, one Plus and one Iconic. Now all the features that you have in Plus, you have also in Iconic, but additionally, you have a personal coach. You'll be getting a printed hard copy of the books. Your answer sheet will be evaluated. There will be a discussion channel, test and quiz. That, all right. So as far as subscriptions are concerned, you can pick any plan. The longer duration of the plan will have, obviously you'll have to pay less money on a monthly basis. So for 24 months you'll have to pay 1000 rupees per month. For 12 months you'll have to pay 1500, and for 6 months 2000. All right, and additionally you can also use the given code here Yashas Live to get 10% discount on the quoted price. All right, and on top of that, I have an announcement again to make that about the Mega Combat prizes, because this is a contest which will happen from 22nd and 29th of August. So the participants who win the contest will be awarded prizes in the form of scholarship. First three winners will be given various types of scholarships, including the full scholarships for various subscriptions. All right, now let's continue with the chapter here. So we have previously in the previous classes, because this is a continuation of the session. This is the fourth session with regard to chapter 4 in BCK about the government policy. And we have studied about what was the state of economic reform, economy before 1991 economic reforms, that is the new industrial policy of 1991. What happened during the economic reforms, liberalization, privatization, globalization. We studied about disinvestment, privatization, and so on. Then we studied about yesterday's class what is the difference between FDI and FII, and uh, what are the benefits of FDI over FII. But remember, a safeguard has to be provided to the economy, so that's why there are various sectors in which FDI is prohibited. Now you do get one or two questions from these segments wherein they ask you that which of the following sectors the FDI is not allowed. So there are various reasons why government do not allow FDI in these sectors. For example, atomic energy, for the protection of the safety, security, uh, uh, and a lot of technology that could leak out. That's why we do not allow any FDI in atomic energy generation. We can allow foreign firms to come and manufacture the reactors for us, but the generation, expansion, everything is controlled by Department of Atomic Energy. Lottery businesses, FDI is not allowed. All the lottery businesses that you have in India, it's either owned by state or the private players, but not by any foreign firm. Gambling and betting, again, it's not allowed. Business of chit fund, I think you all know what is chit fund. They collect small sum of money from a large group of people, and they will try to give you a better return than what the bank offers you. Nidhi companies are non-banking financial companies. They are not particularly commercial bank, but they provide various services just like banks provide. You can so they also collect some amount of money from various sources, and they will give you a better return to the depositors. Agriculture and allied services, FDI is not allowed, because we have to protect the farmers. We cannot have contract farming which can be given to foreign firms. Already the farmers are suffering. Housing and real estate businesses, again FDI is not allowed. Why? Because one of the fundamental reason is that it can lead to a lot of corruption. It can lead to a lot of you know black money generation in the economy. So a foreign firm can come and construct an asset for us, but the ownership will remain with an Indian company or Indian individual. Transferable development rights. Now what is transferable development rights? You see, if I'm owning some land, I can give the right over development of that land to a private entity. For example, I don't have the money to develop that land. I want, if I have a patch of land and I don't want to sell that land, but at the same time I don't have money to set up multiplexes, or to set up any asset, a power plant or whatever. So I will give this development right to a entity, to a private firm, and who will not own the land, but they have been given only the right to develop. They will develop an asset, and whatever the profit is earned from the economic activities over that land will be shared between the owner of the land and the company which has been given the developmental rights. So it cannot be, it means if I have a piece of land I cannot give this developmental right to a foreign firm. It's not allowed. Sir, didn't the recent farming laws allow FDI in agriculture? No, dear, it doesn't allow FDI in agriculture. All right, otherwise there will be a lot of more ruckus will be created if government allows FDI. Just to give you an idea why India is not very much mature about agriculture, privatization of agriculture, especially when privatization can happen. Indian firms are into agro business. ITC is in agro business. All right, Ashirvad and this thing, they purchase a lot of material. They directly don't indulge in farming, but they purchase a lot of raw materials from the farmers. Otherwise, how will you think that Ashirvad atta is made? By the ITC? It belongs to ITC. So there are companies who, but foreign firms are not allowed to do that. All right, just to give you an example, you see in US farmers are also suffering, not the way the Indian farmers are suffering, but they are also suffering in US due to corporatization of agriculture. So what happened there? Monsanto is a very big firm. Now they have developed various kind of genetic seeds, all right, hybrid seeds. So what they say that if you use this hybrid seed on your land, then you will get bumper production of crop. All right, see how they try to gobble up the land of the farmers. But the thing is, you have to buy the seed from us. All right, not only that, the farmers, what they don't know is that seed has a terminator technology. It means generally what happens, a farmer grows some crops, he will save some amount of seed that he will use in the next season. He will not have to buy the entire amount of seed, but that seed has a terminator technology. So what happens after one harvest, that seed is useless. It means you have to always buy from Monsanto. Then you can say that why always you have to buy? Because the thing is, you have changed the genetic makeup of the entire flora and fauna around that, and the soil has been degraded. If you buy any other generic seed, the local variety, it will not grow in that patch of land. It means you're dependent on Monsanto to buy the seed. Not only that, the pest that comes over those crops, they can only be killed by the pesticide made by the company. It means the farmer will have to also purchase pesticide from that company. Now what will happen? The seeds prices gradually will increase, the pesticide prices will gradually increase, and the farmer will not be able to buy. Then Monsanto will come, what they will say that I have a tie up with this particular bank, you can take loan from this bank and buy the seed. Now before you take the loan, you sign a under the dotted line that if you are not able to pay up the loan, that the land rights will belong to Monsanto, and many a times the farmers default and the land will go to Monsanto. The funny part is that if suppose you have purchased a hybrid seed and you are growing wheat, and the adjacent land, suppose it belongs to me, I have not purchased any hybrid seed. Due to pollination, if suppose my area of land where I am growing similar crop, if I get bumper production there as well, then I have to also pay royalty to the farmer. Can you imagine? Some other farmer has purchased the seed. Due to natural event, if that seed cross pollinates my field and I get the benefit of it, then I will also have to pay the royalty to Monsanto, despite the fact I am not a consumer of Monsanto. So Vandana Shiva, very powerful lady, has fought this case. I think you all know, she's a wonderful woman with this multinational corporation, and she is the one due to which government is adamant not to allow any kind of FDI into India. Otherwise, there will be a problematic situation. BT cotton, BT potato, we have tried using it and it created nightmare for the farmers who used it. For the first couple of years, the productivity of the cotton was very high, and after that, the land patch will become infertile. Manufacture of cigarettes, cigarillos, cigarettes, tobacco or any other tobacco substitute is not allowed. Then you can say, sir, various foreign brands are available. Yes, those foreign brands are available, but Marlboro, maybe they will ask an Indian firm to manufacture cigarettes for them, but Marlboro will not end up owning that firm in India. It means Marlboro can produce and sell, but can give contract to a firm. For example, Marlboro can give contract to ITC to produce and sell their brand, but they are not allowed to buy any equity through FDI route in any Indian company. All right, sir. Yes, that's the case. So we cannot allow these foreign multinational companies to exploit the farmers who have been exploited a lot already. The nature of public policy has the following characteristics. Now you have to understand the nature of public policies, right? Public policies are always goal oriented. Remember this, goal oriented, because there is a difference between decision and policy. Every decision doesn't make a policy, but every policy involves decision making. The example I gave you, they can give you this example. All right. For example, UIDAI is a public policy. All right. You have income tax provisions, if they are amended and GST is introduced, it's a public policy. But changing the rates of the taxes or making a provision wherein Aadhaar has to be linked with your PAN card, that is simply a decision, it is not a policy. Alright, various decisions are taken after the policy is implemented in order to achieve the goals or objective of the policy. So these are formulated and implemented in order to attain certain objective. Alright, so every policy has an objective. For example, demonetization government came up, it was a policy. Now what was the point? It was not a decision, because this simple decision will not have a very disastrous effect on the economy, but it was a policy. Policy was to cut down the black money, to cut down the effect of parallel economy in India. Alright, but objective was not achieved because it was not properly implemented. Public policy represents the outcome of government's collective action. As I've told you, government doesn't mean only the politicians. Government doesn't mean only the cabinet or the council of minister. Here, when you're talking about government, you're talking about every machinery that helps in the implementation of the policy. See, the policy is made in the parliament. The decisions are taken by the politicians, but it is implemented at the ground level by the bureaucracy. Alright, what are bureaucracy? The official machinery of the government. From the top to the bottom, we go from the IAS officers to the state level officers to the block development officers and so on and so forth. So it is implemented at the ground level by the bureaucracy. There are courts, there are tribunals, there are various other institutions which helps the government to achieve the objective. So it is the collective work of the government that leads to achievement of any particular objective. So you see the courts of law starting from the magistrate court to the Supreme Court, the duties and codes of conduct of the judges, the involvement of lawyers, public prosecutors, the role of police, forensic expert, appointment of juries, all are example of collective policies, collective actions, sorry. Now, public policy is what the government actually decides to or choose to do. But remember also, when a government decides not to do something, that can also be considered as a policy. Clear? So law, ordinances, I think you all know what is ordinances. Ordinances are passed. It's a temporary law which is passed when the parliament is not in session. But once the parliament comes into session, that ordinance have to be ratified by the parliament. If not, then this ordinance will cease to exist. Court decisions, executive orders, decisions, etc. Public policy is positive. It depicts the concern of the government to solve a problem. I've told you, the word reform, it means you try to make something better. That's why we call it liberalization, privatization, globalization is a economic reform. When we came up with abolition of tenancy, abolition of Zamindari Act, Sealing Act, Land Sealing Act, these are all considered as a part of Land Reform Act. Alright, when we came up with Dowry Abolition Act, alright, Domestic Violence Act, these are all part of social laws. But again, the objective is empowerment of women, to cut down the incidences of atrocities against women. So there can be different types of policy. It could be a socio-cultural policy, it could be an economic policy, it could be a policy which leads to amendment of the constitution, it could be related to directive principles of state policy, it could be related to fundamental rights and so on and so forth. Alright. Sir, what is the meaning, sir? Forensic means, forensic, you see, if suppose you must have seen a criminal CID in India. This is a very funny thing, but yes, what they do is, suppose some murder is happened. Now they will try to create or recreate the scene, that how that murder must have happened, who must have committed this murder, how it is committed, in order to catch the criminal. Alright, so that's with forensic here. It doesn't mean figuring out what criminal act is committed necessarily. But if suppose government finds out that there are some problems with certain laws, there is problem with some firms which are misusing the provisions of the GST, then forensic accounting is nothing just like a investigation, just like a murder investigation. You are trying to investigate that where window dressing could be a possibility, where some fake transactions are hiding in the books of account, how where the trial balance, I mean how the trial balance has been artificially matched. When you try to dissect the entire accounts book, that is known as forensic accounting as well. All right, so when you try to find out the cause of anything, that is forensic. All right, got it here? So sir, forensic means needy companies. I've told you these are NBFC companies. What they do, they collect small chunk of money from a large group of individuals with the promise that in future they will give them a better return. These are needy companies, chit fund companies, but most of the chit fund companies in India, we call it a cheat fund companies, not chit fund companies. Like Satyam Computer's case. Yes, dear, Satyam Computer is forensic. If suppose we want to find out what has happened, Enron, you must have heard that it is the biggest corruption in the private sector in the world that the world has ever seen. If you don't know about Enron, just type Enron corruption. You see what happened. One of the biggest energy firms in the world got destroyed in a matter of 5-6 days because there was a lot of hidden transaction. The company was in lot of debt, but everything was hiding behind the book. But when it came out, there was a whistleblower who came out. Whistleblower, it means the person who was working in the company came out and they said that what bad thing is going on in the company. And then when the government conducted forensic accounting, the government found out, oh my god, what the hell. It means billions and billions dollars worth of corruption. Just to give you an idea, the fall of Enron at that time was 5 times more bigger than Reliance Industries in India. Can you imagine? And that company fell in a matter of days. Right? Enron. Now, negatively it involves, so it depicts the concern of the government to solve a problem. Aadhaar, it solves a problem. What? Many problems. Whenever government used to spend money on social sector reform, whether you're giving money for scholarship to the poorest of the poor kid, whether you're giving money under pension yojana to the people who belong to the lowest economic strata of the society, whether you're giving money to the people to buy subsidized food and so on, it was not going on. It going to the beneficiary. It was said that if government spends 1 rupee, less than 20 paisa goes to the actual beneficiary. If government rupee, it means the actual beneficiary will receive only 20% what the government is distributing. It means 80 paisa goes into corruption. Now the government said what? Aadhaar will do many things. First of all, Aadhaar will link everybody's bank account number. So the government will deposit the money in your bank account. So there is no intermediary in between. Straight away the money will go from the government to the beneficiary, government treasury to the beneficiary. It means the entire sum of money will be received by the beneficiary. Second, government will know how many people are eligible for subsidy. There are many people who they will claim subsidy for n number of members in the family. Say for example, a family has 5 members, but they are getting subsidy for 10 members. 5 fake entries are there. So you cannot have a fake Aadhaar number. So it means that will cut down also corruption from the participant level. Alright, at the same time, government will also know what is the level of transaction that is going on in the economy. If everybody at the end of the day has to link their Aadhaar with the PAN card number, government can find out that the government official, his salary is 25,000 rupees per month, but his bank account is showing 5 crore rupees. How come you have 5 crore rupees? What is your source of your income? People can be caught. Everything will be in black and white. That is the ultimate objective. We have borrowed this thing from the social security number that you have in US and other European countries. So negatively, so any question here? Sir, after linking Aadhaar, also 20 paisa coming? No dear, it's not possible now. It's not possible. Because if even after that, if it happens, then there is some inherent systemic problem is there. But it doesn't happen. Negatively, it involved decision by the government official regarding not taking any action on particular issue. So government can also sit down on particular issue, or government doesn't want to take any particular decision. That is also a part of the public policy. Now this is very important. Again, +1 mark you will get from here. Alright, what are the stages of making a policy? Alright, So remember, first you have to identify the problem. Tell me, if I don't know what is the problem, will I ever try to find out the solution of the problem? If I don't know I am sick, will I go to the doctor to find out why I am sick? First, I have to realize that I am sick. It happens to a lot of Indian people now. They ignore a lot of signs that could lead to a very chronic disease and say everything is fine. You are not recognizing the problem. When you do not recognize the problem, you will not take any corrective action. So first you have to recognize the problem, that there is a problem. You have to identify. Then you can try to solve the problem. Alright. So first, the problem must be recognized in order to determine the course of action to be taken. Alright. So first you have to recognize the problem. Then you have to formulate the policy. Now you have to formulate the policy. Here, if suppose government recognizes the problem, that this is the problem. Problem is what? Problem is that people are not receiving the money spent by the government. There is a lot of corruption that is happening. So government will form a policy. Alright, policy formulation. But policy formulation that happens in the parliament is not a one-day affair. It takes a lot of time. Why it takes a lot of time? Because there can be different solution to one problem. Alright, let's say for example, you recognize that you are sick. You went to the doctor. Now doctor will tell you several course of action that you can take. First, if you want to get rid of the problem, you go for a surgery. Problem hai. If you think that you can wait for some time, then I will try some medication that may try to solve your problem, but there is not a guarantee. Third, I will say that no doctor, I will go and consult some other doctor to take a second opinion. So it means there are A, B, C solution to the problem. Which solution is better, you don't know. You will only come to know which solution is better after brainstorming or discussing. Say for example, a company which is running and its sales is falling down. Why its sales is falling down? That is the problem, is sales is falling down. Now the company will call all its officials in the higher management to find out that what is the reason that this problem is happening and find out the solution. So this is what is known as brainstorming. Brainstorming, must have heard, no? So everybody will be given a task to tell us what should be done in order to improve the sales. Somebody will come up with this solution, buy one get one free. Somebody will say we need to spend more money on advertisement. Somebody will say we need to do some value addition on the product. Somebody will say we should give little more discount to the people, and so on and so forth. Now there are so many options. When you have so many options, you get confused what option to be chosen. So now you will discuss that what should be the course of action. So that is what is happening. When the government recognize the problem, government will go on for a policy formulation. These are A, B, C, D, E, F. These are the solution. Now we have to choose one which is the best, but the government doesn't know what is the best. So that's why you have to debate what must be done. Alright, government is thinking about implementing GST. Now, should GST, every indirect tax come under GST? There is a debate over it. Should we keep petrol out of it? There is a debate over it. So government will conclusively come to a solution. So policy formulation. So what is policy formulation? After recognition of the problem, there will be discussion in the parliament Parliament over various solutions which can potentially solve the problem. Clear? Which can solve the problem. Government cannot say let's do everything. That is not a possibility. You have to choose the best one. Then policy adoption. What happens in policy adoption? So just what happened here? Anyone writing should be right. See, I've told you this video will be available. You can watch it later on and you can write it afterwards as well. Just listen to me for now. All right. So adoption. Now when we have found out that these are the solutions that these are the prospective solutions and we have discussed over it, we will choose the one over which majority will say that this is the best one. So we will adopt that policy. Now when we adopt that policy, it means that bill, initially policy formulation, what is happening? A bill is introduced. Bill is introduced. All right. After so many problems, among the so many solutions, one will be chosen. There will be discussion over it, and then it will be introduced in the form of a bill. Then the bill will be passed in the parliament through majority. That is policy adoption. So policy will be only adopted when the bill introduced at the policy formulation stage is passed and it's given assent by the President of India. All right. So third one is after the formulation stage, after the formulation stage where a bill is introduced and debated in the parliament, it is passed into an act. That is, it becomes a law. This is when we say that the policy has been adopted. All right, policy has been adopted. So this is policy, it means it has become an act. For example, government found out that the Companies Act, a lot of changes have to happen. Globalization is happening very fast. So many of the provisions in the Companies Act are too old and they have to be amended. So in 2013, the bill was introduced. So we recognize the problem that the company's law have to be amended, the problem. Then we introduced the bill. We found out what are the provisions which must be kicked out or which is become obsolete. We have to do away with it. New provisions will be added and some old provisions will be amended. So we made a policy and we formulated a policy and it was introduced in the form of a Companies Amendment Bill. And then after discussion, when that bill was passed, it became a 2013 Companies Amendment Act. But what act have to be implemented now. So implementation will come on the part of the judiciary. Now the politicians have done their work. It becomes the part of the judiciary to implement. Sir, any new bill approved for companies? No dear, right now I don't know, maybe But right now there is no bill that is introduced for the Companies Amendment. I mean, yeah, Companies Act amendment is not going on. Here and there some small bills can be introduced, but Companies Amendment Act, again, we don't call it re-amendment. We call it amendment only. It can be amended 10 times over, but still we call it as amendment. Alright. So right now there is no such thing going on wherein we need to amend the Companies Act. But smaller bills, they continue to go to the parliament and they are passed, because it's not going to make a big change. Unless it's not going to make a big change, that hardly people even know about it. So policy, now that policy have to be implemented. Now there is bureaucracy, there are government machineries, there are government officials from the center to the state level. Now it will be implemented. Now government will has passed the act. All the official notification will happen in the various newspapers. It will be notified, and all the government official will receive the notification for the government dictating them, this is what you need to do to achieve our objective. And now no government official is permitted to violate or go against the provision. All right, this act which has been passed by the parliament, because people have been given the right to the government to form the government. And so when the government is making any law, it is for the people. So that's why the government, the servants who are, that's why they are known as government servant, the bureaucracy, they are the servant of the people, and they have to listen to what the government has stated in the law. If any government official is not adhering to the norms or to the strictly to the law, then strict action will be taken against them. So policy implementation will happen. So you are implementing the policy. So it could be an awareness campaign that will happen from the ground up. District magistrate will be involved, sub-divisional magistrate will be involved, block development officials, tahsildars, patwaris, right? Everybody will be involved, depending upon, again, which there are some specialized sections as well. For example, if it's about GST, then obviously people who are in the income tax department and direct tax department and indirect tax department, customs, excise, indirect taxes and direct tax department is segregated into two. They will be given the power to implement these laws. So policy implementation. So write down next, or you just listen to me. Right. After the law is passed, it will be put to action. That is, the bureaucracy will ensure that the provisions stated under the law are strictly implemented at the national scale. But if it is a law which is passed by the state legislature, it means at the state level you will implement. The union government, when it makes a law, it could be a law which will affect the entire country. But when a state government makes a law, they don't have the power to make any law that will affect another state or the union government. Alright. So here the union government is powerful in the federal structure that we have. Clear? So implemented. Now the question is, do you think that when the government has taken a policy decision, every time every policy will give or will help the government achieve its objective? Sometimes the policy can give just the opposite result. Only when you start implementing the policy and you will be able to see its effect, whether its effect more positive, less negative, or more negative, less positive. Because you see, no policy can make everybody happy. Just like a business, when it does cost and benefit analysis, if suppose any business wants to expand and wants to adopt better technology, So it will perform a cost and benefit analysis that the cost I'm incurring now, when the recovery of this cost will happen, whether in the long run the benefit that I'm going to derive, will it help me recover all the cost, will my profit increase, and so on. Only when the benefit is more than the cost, the business will take that into action. Do you think you will do anything wherein the cost is more than the benefit? If the doctor tells you you can go for a surgery, but remember there is 98% you will die, only 2% will live. Don't you think you will run away from there? Right? What kind of doctor is it? 98% I'll die, 2% I'll live. You would have said the other way around also, that would have scared me. 2% chances you will die, 98%, that would have also given me, oh my god, 2% chances I'm dying. You bugger is saying other way around. Right? 98% I'll die. So you'll run away. Right? Clear or not? So you have to evaluate the policy. You will have to take feedback from the beneficiaries of the policy, that are you happy with the policy. That's what happens in the developed world. You'll see Scandinavian countries, as I've told you, Bhutan, they largely focus on gross national happiness. So the government official, the machinery of the government, they will go from house to house to conduct a survey. Are you happy with this particular policy? Has it made a positive change in your life? And after taking the feedback from the public, they will evaluate whether the benefit that we are deriving from the policy is more or the cost is more. If the benefit is more, we'll continue to do that. If suppose it has more negative than the positive, then we'll try to cut down the negative, or we'll simply abolish the act. So policy evaluation is important. Constant evaluation is important. Alright, to know that how things are changing, whether you are able to you're going to achieve the objective or not. So policy evaluation. At the evaluation stage, the government tries to take feedback from the beneficiaries of the policy, that is people of the policy. This helps government to determine whether the policy is having any positive effect or not, all right, upon the society. All right, so you have evaluated. If everything is right, then no problem at all, you will stop there only. But this is not a one-time process. You will constantly do it. You will do it on a recurring basis. You will do it because the world is changing. People's expectations are changing. Their living standard is changing. We are living in a globalized world. So maybe today this policy is not causing any trouble, but in future it may cause trouble. So if you are not constantly evaluating, you have simply evaluated once, everything is right, then forget about it, will automatically continue to happen. No, it is not the case. So at any point in time when you find out that there is a problem with that policy and you identify the problem, then again you will start a new cycle wherein you identify the problem, what is the problem, then you try to amend the policy, or you will try to disown the policy, or you will abolish that particular policy and come up with a new policy. So this is the entire stage of policy formulation. Sir, how can they take the feedback from people? By directly mean going down door to door? No, in a big country like India it is not possible there. In a big country like India it is not possible. They will take feedback from various pressure groups. You see, if there is a problem today, we say that media is the fourth pillar of democracy. If there is problem, then the media will raise that problem. isn't it? If suppose any big problem that is happening in the society, can it be hidden today from the eyes of the government? You tell me. The answer is no. So there can be various sources from where the government can take feedback. There are various institutions from where the government can take feedback. For example, when you see when government determines national income is not calculated through a centrally located institution like CSO. Though we say that national income is estimated by a central statistical organization, but what happens here? India is a big country. We break down this into various states, district level, and then we'll go from village to village. So the government officials from top to bottom, they are working. So a block development officer, for example, has in its hand various blocks. When he is going from one block to another, don't you think he'll find out the problem? An MLA has one constituency only, an MP has one constituency and only. Don't you think that MP or MLA will be able to find out what is the problem in that constituency? If suppose I am elected as an MLA from Jayanagar, will I not go to Jayanagar? Do I need to go to every other district, every other block? No, I have to think about my constituency. If people have elected me as an MLA in my constituency from Jayanagar, say for example, then I will know the problems of people facing in Jayanagar. So when I know the problem, I'll take this problem to the chief minister. When this, then again the chief minister will find out that how many these blocks are having this kind of problem. Then he'll say, okay, many blocks are having this problem. Then the chief minister in it will take it to the union government that your policy is causing more harm in my state than good. Don't you think? That's why we are having a decentralized power. And at the village level there is panchayat. In every village level there is a panchayat. They will also take care of the problems at the grassroots level. So the problems will never be hidden, dear. Problem will always expose itself. Yeah, it's a different thing that MLAs and MPs are not interested and they hardly visit their constituency once they are elected. That's a different thing. But yes, if they do visit, they will know the problems of their constituency. Clear? So who had asked me this question? It was a good question. Sir, if GST is applied on petrol, then price will increase or decrease? It will decrease, dear. It will decrease because GST on any commodity that you take, goods or services, is not 45-46%. It will come down to 28%. That's the maximum level. This government can go for a cess or something, but at the maximum level. It means if government wants to take 45% of GST on petrol, then an amendment to the GST law has to happen. Alright, and that's the reason why government is not bringing petrol and diesel within the GST Act. Now, nature of public policy. Public policies are of three types. Please remember, one is restrictive, one is regulatory, one is facilitating. Now, what is restrictive policy? There are many types of restrictive policy. For example, as I've told you, government can disallow any foreign firm to invest in a specific sector. That is restrictive policy. Government can allow you to produce cigarette or alcohol only when you take a license from the government. That is a restrictive policy. If you are an exporter or an importer, and if suppose you are importing too much of commodity and you are destroying the Indian economy, because if suppose I am importing lot of goods from China, Indian manufacturers cannot produce so many goods at such a large scale efficiently, so their goods cannot compete with the Chinese goods which can be sold at a lower price. So government can set a quantitative restriction that none of the importer is allowed to import more than this number of quantity. Quota restriction isko bolte hain. Or government can set up a tariff barrier. Government can impose the import duty from, let's say, from 5% to 20% or 30%. These are all restrictive policy, wherein restrictive policy, that doesn't mean that government will do harm to the society. No, restrictive policy, any policy that is taken by the government, undertaken by the government, is never to do a harm but always to do good. If it does harm, it could be due to some problems we could not thought of before when we were implementing or making the policy. That could be a problem. But the intention of the government is never to create problem for the people. The intention is always to solve the problem. Now many of you will disagree from me. Yes, you can disagree, because the thing is, When you are living in an underdeveloped or in a developing economy, that is not a reality at the same time. I will say that. But yes, that is also a fact, because that's what the policy tries to do. Tell me logically you think, if anybody is voting for any political party, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever the political party, are you choosing that political party to do harm to you, or are you choosing that political party to do good to you? Simple logic apply karne ka. It means people are choosing the government to make their life, their society better. So it is expected that every policy of the government will be to do good. So even restrictive policy is there to do good to the society, to do good to the business. If any situation is causing a problem, for example, I've told you Monsanto. If that foreign farm, if government allows agriculture, FDI in agriculture, if suppose in future if government allows and that company comes and starts selling hybrid seed to the farmers, and then it requires land from the farmer, and so the farmer is forever subjugated, then government can also restrict them that no, you can come to India, you can sell your seeds to Indian farmers, but under no way you are allowed to even own 1 square inch of land. If I find that you are owning land in India, then I will penalize your company and kick you out of the country. This is also restrictive policy. Now this restrictive policy, is it taken for the benefit of the people or not? Yes, for the benefit of the people. Alright. So restrictive policy. Curtail all benefits in some particular issue. For example, custom duty may be imposed to protect Indian products. You see, on Tesla, government is importing 60% of import duty. 60%. Elon Musk is very unhappy. He's saying that most of the countries are imposing 40%, because if government is imposing 60%, then what will happen? When car comes to India, because the rate of import duty is very, very high, the price of those cars in the hand of the consumer will increase. So the demand will not be created. But what is the intention of the government? The intention of the government, is it to never allow electric cars to run on Indian roads? No. The intention of the government is to force these big companies to come and produce here. When they will come and produce here, then it means they don't have to pay this import. Then government will say, okay, no problem, you come and set up your plant here. When you come and set up your plant here, I will allow to bring your machineries without any customs duty. So when you are coming here and producing here, you are generating employment. Alright, you are paying taxes to the Indian government. The goods will be available at a lower rate. You will have to pay taxes on your net profit to the Indian government. Alright, everything. It means there will be a backward and forward linkages, and not only because this is, you see, when Tesla will come, or when Apple will come, or any foreign firm will come here, do you think they will only generate employment, or don't you think many of the raw materials they will also try to produce locally? So it means not only Tesla car industry will flourish and it will generate employment, but there are various components that have to be manufactured that can also be given to various Indian companies like Tata's, like Mahindra's, and so on. So again, this is a restrictive policy, but this is taken to protect the Indian industry. A restrictive fiscal policy may also involve raising taxes or cutting government expenditure in an attempt to dampen GDP growth and lower inflationary pressure. Yes, for example, if there is too much of inflation that is happening in the economy is overheating, then government will have to decrease its expenditure, because you see, when government spends less sum of money, people will earn less sum of money, because when government spends, people will earn. How do you think the government will spend? Government will give more subsidies. Government is paying salary to the government official. Government is constructing capital assets. Alright. So when government will cut down, I'm not saying government will not give, honor its social sector requirement, but government will cut down some way the expenditure. So when the government will cut down the expenditure, the flow of the money to the people will decrease, their demand will decrease, inflation will fall down. The intention of the government is not to decrease the rate of growth, but if the inflation continues to grow, it will lead to collapse of the economy. So when you try to control the inflation, the growth will come down, as you have studied in your trade cycle, remember. But that is the side effect, you have to live with that. Then regulatory policies. What are regulatory policies? We'll be studying about these regulatory institutions in the next chapter. Regulatory practices, you see, in India, as I've told you, many politicians who are illiterate can become a leader of the political party. Right? I'm not targeting any political party, particular political party, but in India, almost every political party have significant number of people who are not even class 10 pass. All right. Now tell me, if that particular politician is made a minister of some department, or do you think he will be able to take any decision which is technical in nature? Or not, forget about not educated. They may be educated, but a politician is very educated, let's say for example, but has done his major in history. Alright, he has studied history, he has done his masters in political science, everything, but he is made, say for example, I will not take that example, otherwise it will be a direct thing. Let's say he is made, अभी क्या एग्जाम्पल, बिकॉज द मोमेंट आई गिव यू एग्जाम्पल यू कैन रिलेट टू दैट पर्टिकुलर मिनिस्टर. सो अभी एग्जाम्पल भी मेरे पास नहीं है. इफ सपोज ही इज मेड द मिनिस्टर ऑफ टेलीकॉम, अभी नहीं, ठीक है, एग्जाम्पल आ गया. इफ सपोज ही इज मेड द मिनिस्टर ऑफ टेलीकॉम, नाउ दैट बगर हैज स्टडीड ओनली हिस्ट्री, एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री, मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री, राइट, और medieval history. He doesn't know what is the difference between a GSM and a CDMA and WLL. Do you think he will be able to take any decision which will be for the betterment or growth of the telecom sector? So what the government does, government makes a specialized body for the same, which are known as regulatory bodies. For example, we have TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. We have DOT, Department of Telecom. Now Department of Telecom will be headed by the minister, but the decisions will be taken by the experts. They will be experts in the field of telecommunication. People who have done their engineering in telecom or telecommunication, they specialize in telecom, they will be leading these institutions. So don't you think they will be in a better position to make the rules? Right? But the government will, in the parliament, will make the broader law, but the micro laws will be made by these regulatory bodies. So we have various regulatory bodies, specialized body for different sectors. We have Reserve Bank of India for all the banking sector, whether it's a commercial bank, whether it's a payment bank, whether it's a cooperative bank, whether it's a non-banking financial company, or whether it's a Paytm, which is nothing but a payment bank. Every of these financial institutions will be regulated by the RBI. Under no circumstances they are allowed to even go for one violation of provision. As a matter of fact, under the RBI Act of 1935, even the government cannot start a bank unless RBI gives approval. Alright, unless RBI gives approval. There is an institution in India, IFCI, which is a government owned institution. Now IFCI is applied for a banking license since it's been almost 7-8 years, but RBI is not giving license to a government institution. Alright, and the government itself is given this power in the RBI Act. Likewise, there is Sebi. Now Sebi will not only make rules and regulations which is meant for the private sector companies. Sebi will make also rules which is applicable to everybody. So if State Bank of India, which is listed in the stock market, it does something which is in violation, Sebi can pull that public sector undertaking, take legal action against those in undertaking, despite the fact the ownership is with the government. Despite the fact the ownership is with the government. So these are regulatory bodies. You have IRDA, Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India. You have PFRDA, Pension Fund Regulatory Development Authority of India. You have DGCA, Directorate General of Civil Aviation. If this regulatory authority is not there, then all the airlines companies, they will save money and they will not follow any safety standard. And you will see planes will start dropping from the sky just like apples from the tree. So these are regulatory bodies who will make rules and regulation that any particular company in specific sector have to necessarily follow. For example, if I want to launch an IPO, Zomato wants to launch an IPO, then Zomato will have to live up to all the rules and regulations dictated by Securities Exchange Board of India. Not only that, National Stock Exchange, BSE Stock Exchange are also regulated by the Securities Exchange Board of India. Their books of account is regularly investigated, checked by the Securities Exchange Board of India, and Sebi can also suspend trading in either BSE or NSE or both if it thinks it is for the public interest for some time. So this such a big power has been given to Securities Exchange Board of India. IPO India, you are a business, you're going to be a CEO, you don't know IPO. IPO, initial public offer. When any company wants to raise more finances from the market, they cannot go for a loan all the time because loan will create a burden of interest. So the cheapest source of finance, you can float equity share and you can raise money from the public. Like Zomato has gone, so many IPOs are going to come. LIC IPO very soon it will come. And people are crazy for IPOs. I don't understand the reason why. But yes, what happened? When people know, anyways, we are running out of time. Let's go for it. Facilitating policy. Many times government helps the businesses. Government helps various institutions. For example, we have MSME Act, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Act, under which if the government gives various benefits to the micro, small and medium enterprises. You see, the startups in India, they don't have to pay the taxes, income tax for, I think it's 2 or 3 years. For 3 years, they don't have to pay. Under the Special Economic Zone, when government came up with SEZ Act, any company which is situated inside the Special Economic Zone, they were given a lot of benefits, including subsidized land. They don't have to pay the income tax on their net profit, direct tax on their net profit. They don't have to pay as a company which is outside the Special Economic Zone that they were paying. If suppose the company outside, they were paying 30% during that time on their net profit, whereas a company situated inside the Special Economic Zone, they have to pay only 18% of minimum alternative tax. Right? So 30%, it means 12% of tax you're saving. Can you imagine if your profit is 1000 crore rupees, if suppose, then 12% you are saving, that's a big deal. So a lot of benefit government can give. If you want to say, for example, Make in India initiative, this is what import substitution scheme. Government says that why you are importing, you manufacture the goods here within the country, I will give you some amount of subsidy. So government gives subsidies for production to the manufacturers. This is a facilitating policy wherein government tries to become a friend of the business and it helps the businesses to grow by decreasing its burden. So write down, it's given already here. Facilitating policies are one which facilitates an activity. The conducive policy towards development of micro, small, medium enterprises are example of facilitating policy. Skill India initiative or Special Economic Zone policy, etc. And lastly, this is the last part. This is simply factual thing. Sometimes they ask, sometimes they may not ask. But yes, at the time of independence, what was the situation? 47% of the population were living below the poverty line. Below the poverty line. Imagine. In fact, in India, we have defined poverty line in a very draconian way. So Amartya Sen long time back had said that poverty line is not a poverty line, it's a dying line. 72% of the workforce was employed in agriculture. 72%. Agriculture contributed nearly 50% of national income. Today it contributes less than 15%. Alright. If India generates 100 rupees of GDP for example in any particular year, only 15 rupees is contributed by the agricultural sector. Only 2% of the workforce are employed in industry during that time. For all policy, the 5-year plan becomes the major source. Alright, 5-year plan, we started planning from first 5-year plan from 1951 to 1956, and second 5-year plan we started the process of industrialization, which was also known as Nehru-Mahalanobis plan. Alright, we'll look at that later on. So, okay, this is done, and from now on the Unacademy students will have special sessions on Unacademy. Alright, Unacademy platform, not on YouTube platform. So whenever those classes are going to happen, you will be intimated in your individual group, because a lot of MCQs with regard to business economics we have to solve, and also we have to cover chapter 3 here and chapter 5 here. Chapter 3 we will cover in the end. I'll tell you what you need to know, what you don't need to know. Many of the students are worried, sir, chapter 3 kab hoga, don't worry, everything will happen. So any special session from now on you will be intimated beforehand in the group. All right. But tell me, which time will we be comfortable with this session? Do you think in the afternoon from 2:30 or 2 to 3 will you be comfortable here? You can post this in your group. Later on you can post this in your group. All right, I'll take a cue from there. All right, for now this is it. We'll meet again. Take care. Bye bye and good night. Thank you.